In today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast, we are discussing what every NBA podcast is discussing today, and that is whether your team should trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo now that it sounds like he'll be moving on from the Milwaukee Bucks.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years, coming up on 5 years for the Locked On Network, been credential media member over the last 3 years, and I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. I also want to thank you guys for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. We appreciate all of your guys' support. Later on, I want to discuss some low-key targets for the Detroit Pistons. Some guys that maybe you wouldn't have to trade the farm for. Multiple first-round picks, multiple young guys. There's some low-key targets that the Pistons could go and get, and there's a theme there. We'll discuss that theme. And then also I want to discuss, I've seen some people talking about Ron Holland's development and whether you should be happy with his development. And I want to talk about where I'm at with Ron's development in his second season at just 20 years old. We'll talk about it later. But we're starting where, like I said, every NBA team podcast, every national basketball podcast, everyone is starting with this today because it's big news. Giannis Antetokounmpo, according to reports, the Milwaukee Bucks are aggressively listening to trade talks for Giannis. According to reports, Giannis would like out of Milwaukee. He would like to move on. And the Bucks are now actually finally listening and aggressively listening, according to reports, to trade talks for him ahead of the trade deadline in, by the time you guys listen to this, I believe 7 days, where I'm recording this, 8 days from now. Might be a little too late. Might be easier to make a move in the offseason, but it sounds like Giannis wants to move on to the deadline, and the Bucks are realizing this is going nowhere, and they might want to move on here and try to get something done before the deadline. So everybody's talking about this, rightfully so. I want to start off by saying, when there's a player this great available, a guy I believe is a top 15 to 20 player of all time, a guy who I believe is the top 3 player in the sport, who is still in his prime, when a guy like that becomes available, if you are a team that is in win now mode, every team is at least having a front office meeting of like, hey, should we pursue this? Now, the answer may be, at the end of the day, no, we don't have the facilities for it. It wouldn't work out, and we'll back out. But every team in the NBA, I can guarantee you, when this news happens, if you're in win now mode, you are at least asking, do we go trade for Giannis? He is that great of a player, and that is why, according to Shams and a bunch of insiders, the trade deadline and all these trades, we haven't seen any. Because everybody is waiting on, can they get Giannis, and what does the package for Giannis look like, and who can get involved? Everyone's waiting on this. So the question is, should the Detroit Pistons trade for Giannis? Should they consider trading for Giannis? Some things you have to take into account before you even answer that question. First thing, you have to be aware of how old he is. He just turned 31 last month. He turns 32 in December this year. So he's not old. He's definitely not young right now, but he's not old. He just turned 31. That's where he's at right now. You have to understand his contract situation. Right now, this year, he's being paid $54 million. Next year, he's being paid $58 million. And the year after that, he has a player option. So what that means is, if you are trading for Giannis, 2 things either have to happen here. You either, 1, need to come to an understanding before you trade him that he wants to sign an extension with you. That's 1. 2, if I'm understanding this correctly, which I believe I am, it could be in Giannis' best interest, if he doesn't want to sign an extension, to opt out of that player option to then sign a new contract, because he could make more on that contract if he opts out. So maybe he does opt out with whatever team he gets traded to and just signs a bigger contract because it makes more sense. You would have to come to an understanding before you trade for him that, hey, wink, wink, elbow, elbow, nudge, nudge. You're like, that's what we're going to do. We're all on the same page. You're not leaving in a year and a half. Like, you have to come to that understanding. Those are the 2 main things I think you have to, and before you say yes or no, you have to make sure you have those 2 things in your head before you even answer the question. Now, we go through the layers. Each answer to each question will take you down a different branch, and you'll end up at your answer. So the first question, once you get past that, is this. First one, do you believe that Cade Cunningham and Giannis Antetokounmpo duo would run the East? If it's yes, you continue to go down the line of, do you trade for him? If it's no, stops right there, and you don't trade for him. If you believe that Giannis and Cade, if they were paired together, could run the East and be title contenders for the next 5 years, and he raises your chances of winning a championship with Cade, you go down the yes route. If it's no, you're done right here. You're done. It's not happening. I think, yes, he would raise your ceiling. I think Cade and Giannis duo would instantly be able to run the East. I think they would have the best duo in the East. I think they would be great. So let's go down the road of yes. The next question, which is just as important as the first question, which is the package that you then have to give up to acquire Giannis. Would you still believe, if you gave as much, whatever you have to give up, would you still believe that team is ready to win a championship right now? So now we have to talk about the trade package. Trade package probably would be one of Jalen Duren or Ausar Thompson. Pick whoever you want. That one of those two guys have to be in the trade. You are then also trading Jaden Ivey. You are then also trading Tobias Harris for salary matching purposes. So those are 3 players. I think this is a very least. It could be more than this. We're talking about Giannis here. Those 3 players, they might ask for another young guy, might ask for another one, but let's say they don't. Let's say it's those 3 guys. If it stops there, they are then asking on top of that 2 to 3 first-round picks. Maybe, again, they might ask for another young guy, but this is like at minimum, I believe. 2 to 3 first-round picks with Ivy, Tobias, and one of Ausar or Duren. Do you believe that if you traded all of that, you would then still have a team ready to compete for a championship right now and moving forward? If it's no, again, road stops here. If it's yes, you continue to go down this road. Where I stand, I think the Pistons are an incredibly deep team. That is one of the best things about them. They are an incredibly deep team, and if you're able to move off of those guys, I think they still would have a good roster with this team, and they probably would still be able to be the best team in the East. And when you have that type of talent in the playoffs, I think that wins out. So I'm more hesitant with that question, but I'm still going to go down the road of yes. I'll be transparent here. I'm still going to go down the road of yes just so we can fill out this whole hypothetical. Because right there, I am hesitant. I'm hesitant at that point. But to continue on this hypothetical, I'm going to circle yes. The next question you got to answer after that is, Giannis is hurt right now. 4 to 6 weeks. He's out. That doesn't leave a lot of time to get ready for the playoffs. Do you believe that if you traded for Giannis, 1, he would get healthy before the playoffs, and 2, you would have enough time to gel together before the playoffs to where you could then be the best team in the playoffs and get to the finals and potentially win the championship? If the answer is no, this is where the road stops. If it's yes, you've just about hit the final spot, and you should be one of the teams that are sending in an offer. It is at this point that I'm probably circling no. This is probably where I stop right here, because I believe, yes, Cade and Giannis duo would be the best duo in the East, and they would be able to win a championship. For the next 3 to 5 years, they would be championship contenders and maybe win multiple. I think that duo would be tremendous. I do think that the Pistons have the depth of this team, of this roster, to where they could give up a few pieces and still be a really good roster. I do believe that. What I don't believe, I am hesitant about, is if you did pull this trade off, if you did say, let's go after Giannis, and you did it, if he's out 4 to 6 weeks, you don't have a lot of time to get ready for the playoffs. And this isn't just like a KD where you can plug him in and he's going to be able to just fit off ball until you really integrate him in. He'll be fine. Giannis is a big piece, and you got to change some things to fit him in with Cade. I don't know if I don't think you'd be able to gel in time before the playoffs this year. So that's where I'm going to be the most hesitant at. And then if you go down that trail even more right there, it's that, okay, you're the first in the East right now. You're already one of the best teams, if not the best team in the East. You have a good chance of coming out the East. You could make smaller moves to improve that chance that don't come with as many steps that we just went through. We just went through 3 or 4 steps, and that you have to check off before you even say, okay, we actually want to submit this offer. There's other guys you can trade that don't require 3 to 4 steps before you check it off, and they also don't require you trading everything for. However, like I said earlier, when it's Giannis, when it's that type of player available, you have this type of conversation. Every team in the NBA that's in win now mode is having this conversation. And it's deserved. He's that great of a player. He's that great. And for every fan base, The goal, the ultimate goal is to win a championship. It doesn't matter who it's with. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's with your favorite player or not. If your favorite team wins a championship, you have achieved the ultimate goal. So if you believe that Giannis and Cade will make you achieve the ultimate goal, whether your favorite player is traded or not, you will not care when they're hosting up that trophy. So if you wholeheartedly believe trading for Giannis gets you a championship, then you should be in the camp of Pistons. Let's go do it. And I want you to comment down below what trade offer you would submit for Giannis. If you don't believe that trading for Giannis would instantly make the Pistons championship contenders, or where they could beat OKC or Denver out west, then you don't do this. If you don't think they have the depth to survive it, then you don't do this. If you don't think they'll have enough time to gel before the playoffs to where they actually would be, and it actually could hurt more in the short term, then you don't do this. To end it all off, I do not think the Pistons are going to trade for Giannis. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be that aggressive this year, and maybe they won't ever be that aggressive. But as I've said now 3 times in the podcast, when a player like this is available and you have assets to maybe do it, you have to at least have the meeting we just had with each other here. Every team is having the same meeting that we just talked about. They go through all these steps, and then they figure out where they want to be at. It deserves at least that kind of conversation, but I end off at it's probably a no for me. Probably a no, because I can't imagine. I mean, we went through the steps. It's probably a no for me. I would heavily consider it. And every team's going to call and at least say, hey, what would it take? Every team's going to do that. At least say, hey, what's the package it would take for Giannis? And then at that point, Trajan may say, okay, thanks for letting me know, hang up, and then that's it. But he's at least going to do that. I don't think they're going to trade for him, but it deserves the conversation because he's Giannis Antetokounmpo. What does more likely have a chance of happening is some of the low-key targets I'm about to talk about coming up. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below, though, would you be interested in Giannis or not? And if you are, what's the trade package you'd be willing to give up? But coming up, I'll list you guys some of these low-key targets I've written down that I think the Pistons could go after that wouldn't cause a 5-step hypothetical to figure out if you actually should or not. We'll talk about it coming up. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax experts in person or connect online. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150, all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. To take taxes off your plate and get back to your life, visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today with TurboTax. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. The NBA trade deadline is basically here, and we want to give you a free month of our new Everydayer Club to help get you ready. If you need a group chat to keep up with all the chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat on Discord just for Locked On Pistons fans, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You can also get ad-free versions of the show, and if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use code DEADLINE to get your first month for free. Tap the link in the show notes below to learn more. Now, after talking about Giannis, we're now going to talk about more realistic moves the Pistons can make. And I'm not going to mention MPJ or Lauri Markkanen or Trey Murphy or who's JJJ, some of these guys. Some of these big names that would require a bigger trade package to make happen. I want to focus on some low-key targets. I've had a lot of you guys asking me, who are some low-key targets you really would be going after? We keep talking about MPJ. We keep talking about Trey Murphy. But what are some low-key targets the Pistons can do that don't involve them having to trade a first pick or two or a young guy or two? Like, what are some names like that they can go after? Before I say my list of players, I want to tell you guys what I targeted, what I think the Pistons should be targeting, and what this theme is. The Pistons, as of right now, I mean, we've talked about this, have an argument of saying we are the best defensive team in the league over the last 2 months. They have a chance to say, they have the ability to try to say that. Over the last 10 games, they have the first defense in the league. Over the last 20 games, they have the first defense in the league. On the season, they are second in defensive rating. So they have the ability to say, or make the argument at least, hey, since December, we've been the best defense. They are currently the 10th best offense. But over the last 10 games, they were 14th, and over the last 20 games, they fall into 17th. So they started at the beginning of the year, they were like 6th, but they're falling in offense. And historically, to win a championship, you have to be both a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. Historically, that's what it takes. So obviously, we all know the Pistons need some more offense. They need some more shooting, and some people believe they need some secondary shot creation outside of Cade. This is where I want to talk about what I targeted. I did not put any names on this list that were 2 guards. I only put the forward position. And the reason why I said this, these are the guys I listed, is not because I don't believe a 2 guard could help. Or if you want, don't say a 2 guard, just like a wing. A guy who is more of a 2-3 rather than a 3-4. A guy that can slide up to the 4. A guy that's at the wing playing down to a guard position. Now, one of those guys is because I believe if you are going to get one of those guys, it has to be somebody that not only is adding some of that shot creation or shooting, it has to be someone who also is very good at the point of attack. Because if you are adding that player and putting them in the starting lineup, at least I would assume, I don't think you'd be making this trade unless you were then moving Ausar up to the 4. I don't think you're making this trade to trade Duncan, because Duncan's the only 3-point shooter you got. You're looking to trade for someone who can be added to Duncan in the lineup. You're not trying to just do 1-for-1 trade. You're trying to have it to where you have multiple guys in the lineup that can space the floor for Cade, Duren, and Ausar. So I'm assuming that you are then bumping Ausar up to the 4. If you are doing that, Ausar is now being moved off the point of attack. And we talked about at length, I think he's the best perimeter defender in the league. There's some stats out there from B-Ball Index that say he's the best perimeter defender. He's one of the only guys that have an A+ in every perimeter grade ever. There is another stat I just saw about. Either way, you just have to know that Ausar crazy on the ball, on the perimeter. This was a stat from All NBA Podcast. This is the Tim Legler podcast with Adam. They tweeted this out. Ausar and Jalen Duren have been on a different level defending picks this season. In the tracking era, over 21,000 duos have defended 150 on-ball picks over the course of the season. No duo has ever allowed fewer than 0.7 points per direct pick. Ausar and Duren are allowing 0.622. They would be the first duo ever to allow less than 0.7 points in every ball screen action. Obviously, that's with Ausar as the on-ball guy and Duren as the screening defender. Bring that up because if you're going to get a 2 guard, that means you're moving Ausar off the ball. And you're putting him at the 4. Now, Ausar can play at the 4. He's very good off ball. He's a very good weak side rim protector. The point here is, if you're doing that, the guy you're then replacing him with has to at least be good. He has to be good on defense. He has to be good at the point of attack. And if he is, I'm assuming he probably isn't going to be a low-key target. If you're trading for somebody who is a good shooter, a really good shooter, a good shot creator, and he's also good on the ball on defense, I don't know if there's any low-key guys like that. You're talking about a star at that point. You're talking about an all-star, like a near all-star guy. Like, you're talking about Derek White at that point, and you're not getting Derek White for cheap. So that's why I didn't include any of those guys on this list. I do agree it would work, and it would fit. I just don't... That guy is not going to be for cheap. That guy, you're going to have to give up just as much for that guy as you would for MPJ or anything. I'm not interested in trading for a 2 that can't defend. Because now your point of attack defense, I think, is going to go to hell. You can't do it. If you're going to do it, you actually have to get someone who's going to be a good replacement for Ausar, and he can make up for it on the weak side. And the Pistons' whole identity is defense. So you can't trade for someone who's going to crater and ruin your whole entire identity on defense. So that's where I stand. That's why I didn't include any 2s here. So I include some forward position guys here. And these are the names I have on the list. And I don't know if all these guys would be available. There's 2 guys on this list that, quite frankly, we haven't heard them in the trade rumor, in any trade rumors, but just guys that I would at least call about. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names. Cam Johnson, Rui Hachimura, 7 names actually. I'm sorry, I miscounted. Sam Hauser, Naz Reid, John Collins, Jalen Smith of the Bulls, and Jabari Smith of the Rockets. That's 7 names that I have written down that I would call about. The thing that all of these guys have in common, they all shoot really well from above the break. I went through and sorted out every single wing / forward / big that by above the break 3-point percentage, and obviously overall, like not someone who sucks in the corners and then only good above. Like if you're good above the break, you're most likely just a good 3-point shooter in general. And you have to do it on some volume. If you're doing it on low volume, I'm sorry about my alarm going off. If you're doing it on low volume, it doesn't matter much to me. Like I have to believe that you can do it on higher volume, or you're already doing it on higher volume. So that's why I sectioned this. I categorized this by. I went through the list, and these are the 7 names I came up with. If the Pistons could get any of these guys, I think it would really help them, because you don't have to change much. Tobias hasn't been the greatest defender. And Tobias, what you need at the 4 position, at this year I should say, last year he actually was a pretty fine defender, but this year he hasn't been. You're not changing anything. You're just simply upgrading what you have. You're not ruining what you already have. You're not messing with any of your identity stuff. Nothing. All you're doing is simply just upgrading what you already have at the 4. It's the same thing. You have the same concept, the same formula going on. You just hope that the formula is better. Like that's all that's happening. I think all of these guys, again, all of them shoot well from beyond the arc, especially above the break. That's where I was looking at. Obviously, some of these guys would be harder to get than others. Like, I think Cam Johnson would be pretty tough to get. I think Naz Reid might be tougher to get. Jabari Smith, he's a guy who is right on that border of shooting really well from above the break, but he does it on a ton of volume. Like, I think he took the most above the break threes of any of these guys, and he shoots 36% on them if clean the glass, that is correct. Jabari would be one of those buy low guys, because he's not playing that well for Houston this year, and there's been a lot of frustrations with him. I've always been a fan of his. I think he has some really good, like, long-term starter, impact player ability. He's not having the greatest season, but that would be a guy I maybe would buy low on that I think actually would help this team. And he has some defensive juice as well, and some length. So, like, I think those guys would maybe be harder, but John Collins, could you get him? Maybe. I think that would. Jalen Smith is one of those guys who isn't the greatest player, and maybe wouldn't even start over. Like, I don't think he would even start over Tobias, but he would just be another guy you can plug in who is a big man who is able to shoot the ball from deep, especially beyond the arc or above the break. So, and I don't think he would be that much to cost. Sam Hauser might cost a little bit, and I don't think Boston probably is trying to move off of him, but you could call and ask about him. I think he would be tremendous on this team. And could you maybe swing a deal over there? Maybe. Rui Hachimura is a very interesting one, because according to reports, the Lakers are listening to calls for him, and Rui is one of the best shooters from above the break in the entire league. Like, he was at, where is he at? He shoots 44% on above the break threes. Now, it's not on as much volume, but I do think I trust that the volume could go higher. Here, he's only shot 82 this year, so and above the break threes, that is. He shot overall 147 threes this year. So again, not as high as volume as like 7 a game, 8 a game, but I do think he could shoot more if he played more for this team, for this type of team they have, and I think they would encourage him to shoot more. So he's shooting really well, like 44% from 9-corner threes, 43% on corner threes. I that's an interesting name to look at. I think that would be a good pickup. But all of these guys, like all of them do the same things. There's a varying amount of how much you would have to give up for all of them. But that's the archetype I'm looking for. And if you can't get MPJ, who is by far my number 1 target, if you can't get someone like that, then these are some low-key names that I think could address the same issue. Maybe not as well as MPJ, but would cost less, and I think still fill some of that need that you have. So let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter, @Khahil. What do you want the Pistons to add? What are some low-key targets that you have for the Pistons at this trade deadline? I know a lot of you guys have commented some 2 guards. After what I said about the defense, do you still want those 2 guards? And is there a 2 guard out there that you think of that's like, hey, he provides this, but he also gives us this on-ball defense that you're talking about, and you can kind of make up for it a little bit? Let me know. Comment section down below, or over on Twitter, @Khahil. Coming up, I want to talk about how Ron has developed. And again, what is his only second season in the NBA at just 20 years old, How has he played this year? How is he developing? I want to talk about it coming up. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwound subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow savings. I love how it tracks all of my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. It's an absolute pain having to do that. Being able to just go in the app and just have a few taps to cancel your unwanted subscriptions, it makes life so much easier for me. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon to help you reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Ron Holland, the Pistons' second-year player. I've seen some discussion in the community lately about how well is Ron actually playing. Should you be happy with his progress in his second year? Where are you at with Ron Holland? So I want to give Ron his own segment here and talk about his season so far, where I'm at with him. I'll start with where I'm at with Ron. Ron is basically untouchable to me. I don't want to say anyone is truly 100% untouchable outside of Cade. Like, we just talked about Giannis earlier. Like, if the Bucks said you can have Giannis for Ausar, like, I love Ausar, I'm packing his bags for him. Like, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, I think Ausar is near untouchable, but if we're talking about Giannis, like, I'm packing the bags for him. Same thing with Duren. Like, we're talking about Giannis. Come on. But I think Ron is close to onto that level of I'm not moving him. I don't. If you're calling and you're saying I have to move Ron, I'm not doing it. Like, I just not moving Ron. I very much like Ron. So that's where I'm at with him overall. Where am I at with him on the season? And I've seen some people complaining about Ron because he's been inconsistent. For example, start Chicago on January 7th, 11 points, 16 points, 11 points, then 7, 3, 6, and then 13, 11, 10. And I've seen some people complaining about Ron. And I come away saying, I think he's having a good year. I'm happy with where he's at. He's playing how many minutes? He's playing 21 minutes a game for the best team in the Eastern Conference. He's playing 21 minutes a game at 20 years old for the best team in the Eastern Conference. We're gonna go deeper than that, but you can really just stop right there, and like that would be the end of the eval there. Like, oh, X player is 20 years old and playing heavy minutes on the best team in the conference. Oh, he must be doing well. So like that's really where you could just stop the analysis, but we'll go deeper than that. So I think he's playing well. He's been one of the best defenders, or one of the best wing defenders, I should say. I don't want to just throw the word around best defender in the league willy-nilly, because it's he's one of the better wing defenders in the league. That's where he's been at. He's been good in the passing lanes. His hustle is off the charts. He grabs random loose balls that you don't even think are actually like available, and he somehow is getting them and getting easy buckets. He's getting random offensive rebounds. He gets random steals. He's constantly around the ball. On the ball, I think his screen navigation on the ball when navigating picks is not the greatest, but in isolation, the overall on ball at 20 years old, I think he's very good. I think he's pretty equipped to guard bigger guys. He's very physical. He's not afraid to get physical with bigger guys at the wing position, and he guards them pretty well. He's a nuisance. People don't like playing against him because he's constantly all up in your grill. He's been very good defensively. So there's that. There's the defensive end of the floor. And then offensively, this is where I've seen a lot of the complaints from people about Ron. He's shooting 25% from deep. They don't have any shooters, blah, blah, blah. Look, Ron is, again, I want to make this clear. He is 20 years old. He is nowhere near his prime. And anyone that was really expecting Ron in his second season at 20 years old become this sniper from deep, or this well-crafted offensive player to where he's a star, and like that's just if that was your expectation for Ron, that's just an unfair expectation for him. What I've liked from him offensively is that he's shown confidence in the three-point shot. The fact that he's missing it doesn't change his confidence. Now, of course, you would like to see him make them, but this is part of the progress. This is part of the process that you have to go through. And the fact that he hasn't been affected by the fact he's missing, I mean, I like seeing that. I like seeing the fact that he hasn't been affected by missing. He's had random scoring outbursts in games that they've absolutely needed it. In minimal minutes, too, like 16 points in 25 minutes, 13 points in 25 minutes, 11 in 21 minutes, 10 in 21 minutes, 12 points in 19 minutes, 11 in 19 minutes. He's capable of just having a random explosion off the bench and scoring, and I guess explosion maybe is overdoing it. It makes it sound like 30 points, but like in minimal minutes, he's able to, in a stretch, just completely flip a game because of his energy and just get random buckets, which for a team that plays like the Pistons is incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. So is Ron perfect? No, he's 20 years old. He's still improving, but I'm very happy with where he's at. He's nearly untouchable for me. Again, like we explained it earlier. And I think he's I will continue to believe, and I still believe right now, that Ron and Ausar are the future at the wings. That is the Pistons' future. I think Ron's going to be a great player. I think he's shown reason to believe even more in him this year. Sure, maybe it's been a little up and down. He didn't have a great November. And he's had, every now and then he'll have a tough game. So what? He's 20 years old. How often are you getting the good games? I'd say you're getting good games pretty often. How is he impacting the game? Well, over the last 10 games, they're winning his minutes by 3.4 points. Over the last 20 games, they're winning his minutes by 6.7 points. This is a 20-year-old. I am very happy with where Ron's at. He has to improve still, obviously. He has a lot of areas he has to improve in still, obviously. But where he's at right now, with what he's already contributing to what is the best team in the Eastern Conference, I don't see how you're not thrilled with where he's at right now and excited about where he could be. So I think Ron's having a great maybe great year might be over. He's having a good year. He's playing to my expectations. He's not underperforming. He's not disappointing. He's playing well. I'm happy with where he's at. And I'm just as excited about his future as I was in the offseason. I don't see how that's changed for some people. I think Ron's going to be great. He's going to be great. And the fact that he's found a way to contribute on a contender this quickly while having some of the holes he has in his game, I think says even more about his capability as a player. So I love Ron. I think he's on the right route. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Where are you guys at with Ron Holland? Are you just as happy as I am with where he's at right now? Or are you maybe not as happy with Ron with where he's at right now? Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.